Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com, and we're here today with episode number 25 in our incredible new tutorial series where you're learning how to think like an engineer using the Arduino Uno R4 Wi-Fi. What I will need you to do is pour yourself a nice tall glass of ice cold coffee. That would be straight up black coffee, poured over ice, no sugar, no sweeteners, none needed. And as you're pouring your coffee, as always, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Sunfounder. Sunfounder is actually sponsoring this most excellent series of video lessons. And in this class, we will be using the Sunfounder Elite Explorer Kit. Now, hopefully most of you guys already have your gear, but if you don't, take a look down in the description. There is a link over to Amazon, and you can hop on over there and pick your kit up. And believe me, your life and my life are going to be a whole lot easier if we are working on identical hardware. But enough of this shameless self-promotion. Let's jump in and see what I am going to teach you today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my solution to the homework assignment that I gave you in episode number 24. But I must first ask, how many of you were successful? If you were successful, leave a comment down below. I am legend. And if you were not successful, leave a comment down below. I folded up like a cheap Walmart lawn chair. Okay, if you guys didn't get it, don't feel bad, because this is just a problem. It sounds so easy. Press the button, you want the LED to come on. Press and release the button again, you want it to go off. You want a toggle switch. Okay, it just sounds so easy. The two simplest components in the kit, the little push button and the little LED. How hard could it be? Well, it requires you to kind of expand and make new connections in your brain. Okay, it requires you to expand and make new connections in your brain. And this is usually introduced in an electrical engineering curriculum, maybe in about year 2. And it's probably one of those problems, one of those assignments that is most responsible for engineers leaving the engineering department and moving over to the culinary arts department. Okay, I love cooking, so I'm not being hard on people who cook. I love to do it, but I'm just saying this is the trivial, simple problem that just absolutely devastates people, because again, what it requires you to do is it requires you to make new connections in your brain. Now, once you see it, it's going to be obvious, but coming up with it on your own, the first time you see this problem, it can be a little bit daunting. So again, what is the problem? You're going to have a push button on your circuit. You're going to have your LED, and if you come in and push and release the button, the light comes on and it stays on. If you come and push and release the button again, the light goes off and stays off. And so that is what we're going to look at. Let's take a quick second. This is the same circuit that we used last week, so I'm going to kind of go through it a little bit quickly because you should already have this built. But let's just go over it again really quickly, so I'll get out of your way. So what you have is you have a push button and you have an LED. And then this, let's start with the LED here. Okay, let's start with the LED. I need to get out of your way a little bit further. Okay, so this is the LED circuit. The LED goes to pin 10. And so you see the LED, the long leg is on this side, and it comes all the way over to our friend pin number 10. And then the short leg of the LED goes through a 1,000 ohm resistor. Okay, a 1,000 ohm resistor. And from there, it goes down to this bottom rail, which we have created to be a ground rail. So if we come over here and look, this black wire comes over to G and D, and so now this entire bottom row is a ground rail. Now similarly, we're going to come over and we're going to look at the push button, and you can see the push button. Let me push this out of the way so you can see my circuit diagram. You're going to start at 5 volts, and so we start over here at 5 volts right here. And this is a 5-volt rail because I've got this red wire coming over to 5 volts on the Arduino. So now this row, this red row, is a power rail. And so I come off of that power rail and I go to the top leg of a 10,000 ohm resistor. So I go from my 5-volt rail to the top leg of the 10,000 ohm resistor. Then the other end of the 10,000 ohm resistor is connected to the right leg of the switch, and then the left leg of the switch goes down to my ground rail. Left leg of the switch goes down to the ground rail. And then also we want to read from this connection between the button and the 10,000 ohm resistor. We want to read that on the Arduino, so that's going to go to pin 2. And so that is right here. This wire is connected to the left leg of the resistor and the right leg of the switch, and then that comes all the way over to our digital pin 2. Okay, so that is the circuit setup. Now, that part is the easy part. And let me tell you, the first mistake that people make on a problem like this, a new problem like this, is they immediately jump in and they immediately jump in and they start coding. Okay, I've got to set this pin up. I got to set that pin up. Well, what? I'm going to do an if statement here. And you don't have a strategy. And if you don't have a strategy, you're really going to struggle. And if you get a solution, the chances are your solution is going to be insanely complicated and really like just by brute force get it to work. So let me kind of show you again, what are you trying to do? You're trying to think like an engineer. And so let me tell you, the first thing we do is we don't go to the code. The first thing that we do is we go to the scratch pad. We go to our engineering notebook and we start thinking through this, okay? So the first thing I want to do is clearly say in words what this should do. And then I've got to take it from those words to a concept, and then from a concept to a strategy, and from a strategy to coding. And if we do the paperwork and the thinking and the strategy, the coding is going to be trivial. Why do people struggle? Because they don't think through the problem before they start. So I want to state the problem clearly. Now, what does it mean to press the button? We've got to be more specific, right? If I press the button and release the button, I want the LED to turn on. Okay? Press, release, on. How many things? 3 things. Similarly, now, if I press the button, release the button, now I want it to what? Turn off. So I want to press, release, on, or press, release, off. So what kind of 3 things, you've got to get your variables, right? You got to set up your variables. What 3 things do I need to keep track of? I need to keep track of the button state now. Right now, is the button up, a 1, or is the button down, a 0? I need to know the button state now. But I don't do something because the button's up. I don't do something because the button's down. I do something if last time through the loop the button was down, and this time through the loop the button is up. So I can't just keep track of button state. I need to know where the button is now and where it was last time. So I need button state where the button is now, and I need button state old where it was last time. Now, what is the if thing? If the last time, if button state old was 0 and button state now is 1, what does that mean? The button was pressed and released. So if button state old is 0, right? Because when it's pressed, it's 0. If button state old is 0 and button state now is 1. If I go from a 0 to a 1, last time it was a 0, this time it's a 1. What do I want to do? I want to toggle. Okay, I don't want to turn it on because it might already be on. I don't want to turn it off because it might already be off, right? I want to what? I want to toggle, okay? I want to toggle. So I need a variable button state old. I need a variable button state. And now what does this toggle mean? It means, well, if the LED is on, I want to turn it off. If the LED is off, I want to turn it on. Okay? Now, what you have to see is the Arduino just sitting there, minded its own business, does not have a clue whether the LED is on right now or off right now. So what do you have to do? You have to keep track with a variable of what your LED is. So I'm going to call that LED state. Like right now, LED state might be on, or LED state might be off. And I'm going to call that LED state equal 1 means that it's on, and LED state 0 means it's off. So what do we need? We need to know button state now. We need to know button state old, what it was last time. And I need to know, is the LED presently on or off? Now, if button state old was a 0, and button state now is a 1, and the LED is off, what do I want to do? I want to turn it on. Okay, if the button state old was a 0 and the button state now is a 1 and the LED state is a 1 on, what do I want to do? I want to turn it off. Okay, does that make sense? Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope that was pretty clear. So what I really need is, I need 3 variables. I'm going to call it but state because that's easier to write. I need but state old, and then I need okay, yeah, let's start over there. I need to use better variables than that. Okay, so what we were using before I think is better. I'm going to use but val for the present state of the button, but val old for the previous version, and then I'm going to have LED state. And with those 3 variables, I should be able to do this. I should be looking for going from a down to an up, and then I toggle. If I go from a down to an up, I toggle. In order to toggle, I need to know where I am now. All right, so let's jump in now. And if that's not clear, maybe it'll start making more sense when I actually start coding. And so now we are ready to fire up our Arduino IDE, and we're going to go to our friend who, Mr. Bare Minimum, which you come down and you say examples and you say basic, and then we go to bare minimum, open that up. And I always like to make sure that my Arduino is connected. I come down to port, and what it sees is it does see the COM5 for me has the Arduino, and that is selected. So you always just want to kind of check that. And it's good to see here that under tools, I've got the Arduino Uno R4 Wi-Fi selected. So everything there should be good. Okay, now what we want to do is we're going to come over here and we are going to start setting up our variables. Trying to get a little bit of Windows management done here. Okay, give me just a second. Okay, so now I'm going to set up my variables. Where do we set up our variables? Above the void setup. So the first thing, I have got a button pin. So I'm going to have int but pin. And where did we have that? That was connected to digital pin 2. And then I had a red pin, right, my red LED, and that was connected to digital pin 10. We might need to print something out to do a little debugging, and so I'm going to go ahead and get ready to turn on the serial monitor. So I'm going to say our baud rate is going to be 115 to 100. Like that. Now, if I'm going to use this but val and but val old and LED state, I need to go ahead and declare the variables, and I need to go ahead and give them a value. And I'm just going to make up a value, but just so like maybe the first time through the loop, the thing doesn't crash. If it doesn't have like the first time through the loop, it's going to read but val, but it's not going to have a but val old because it's the first time through the loop. So I like to just assign a number to the variables to make sure that I don't end up trying to use a variable that doesn't have a value in it. So what we're going to do is BRR. What is this nonsense? Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to have an int, and I'm going to have a but val, and I'm going to just set it to 1, meaning that the first time it's just the button isn't pressed. Okay, and then int but val old, and I'm going to say okay, and it wasn't pressed last time since there wasn't a last time. It wasn't pressed last time. Okay, now we're going to have LED state, and that is going to start at a 0, meaning the LED is off. Why? When the program runs for the first time, the LED is going to be off. So the LED state is 0, and the button is not pushed, and it wasn't pushed last time. Now we'll start reading and manipulating those. All right, man, we're on a roll here. What do we do in our void setup? We better turn on our serial monitor just in case we need it. So serial.begin. And what's that going to be? BR for baud rate. Boom, that looks good. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to do a pin mode on what? On the red pin, and that is a what? That is an output, like that. Okay, pin mode, red pin is an output. And now what are we going to do? I'm going to do a pin mode, and what do I need to do? My button pin, I'm going to what? I am going to read from that button pin, right? I am going to read from that button pin. I'm going to read from it. And since I'm going to read from it, that is going to be an input like that, okay? So my red pin is an output. My butt pin is an input. And then what am I going to do? Okay, what am I going to do? I've got things set up there. I've got my pin modes done. That looks good. I'm going to run this just to make sure I've got everything defined so far. You see, I made a mistake already. Pin mode was not declared. Pint mode. Just kidding. Pin mode. Just kidding. All right. But I like to kind of get my initial errors out of the way like that. It looks like it's going to work this time. It doesn't do anything, but I'm just making sure that I'm kind of on the right thing. Okay, now, the first thing I need to know is I need to know what state is my button presently in. So how do I do that? I read but val is going to be equal to digital read of what? My butt pin, like that. Okay, now I know what butt val is. First time through the loop, I don't have a butt val old. Okay, so now what I need to do is, but I assigned it a value so that I don't crash the first time through the program. But what do I want to do? I want to see if the button has been pressed and released. If the button has been pressed and released. So how would I do that? Well, I would say if, and then what? But val old, if that was equal 0, that means the last time the button had been down. If last time the button had been down, and if this time but val equal 1, this time it is what? It's up. Last time it was down, this time it is up. That means we need to toggle. So if that condition is true, then what are we going to do? Okay, what are we going to do? Well, if the LED state equal 0, then what do I do? If the button state equal 0, what do I do? That means the LED is off. What should I do? I should turn it on. Digital write. Who am I going to write? Red pin. And red pin's going to go what? High. Why? Because if LED state, first of all, I got the down and up. Now I have to toggle. Well, if the LED state equal 0, what do? I write the red pin high, and that's going to turn the LED on. But on the other hand, if LED state equal 1, what does that mean? That means if the LED state equal 1, it means that it is on. And if it's on, and I'm still inside this if statement that's saying if the button went down and went up, and now the LED is on, what would I want to do? I would want to turn it off. So I'm going to do a digital write red pen, and it's going to be what? High, like that. Okay, so to get inside of this if statement, I need that button press down and up. Now that I'm inside of it, I've got to decide, is the LED on? Then turn it off. If it's off, then I've got to turn it on. Okay, now this is the thing that is very, very important, and it's very, very important, and it is easy to forget. Okay, this closes my if statement here. This closes my if statement here, and then this is my main if statement about the buttons. And so while I'm still in there, if I get into this if statement, that means I am what? I'm toggling the LED. And if I'm going to toggle the LED, if I'm going to go from on to off, I better what? I better update my LED state. So my LED state is going to be equal to not the LED state. And don't tell me you didn't know how to do this, because I showed you when we were doing conditionals, you can have equal things, you can have nots, and the exclamation is not. So the LED state becomes not the LED state. So if the LED state was a 0, it's going to become not a 0, which is going to be a 1. And if it was a 1, then it's going to become a not 1, which is going to be 0. So I'm going to be flipping this from 0 to 1, but only if I end up in this condition where I press down and I pressed up. I'm going to flip the LED on or off, and then I'm going to update LED state. Does that make sense? Okay, now there is one more thing that we have to do. Now I am all the way down. I'm all the way down here. I'm going to come out of that if statement. What do I have to do? I have to drop a breadcrumb. I've got to drop a breadcrumb because next time through the loop, I might have never gone into these if statements, or I might have gone into these if statements, but what do I have to do? I've got to drop a breadcrumb so the next time through the loop, but val will know what the but val was the time before. So what do I have to do? I've got to tell it what but val old is. And what but val old is, it's going to be just what but val now is, right? Because now my present value, the next time through, will be the old value. So the old value that I will use next time through is going to be the present but val. That's sort of like saying, today is tomorrow's yesterday, is sort of like what you're saying. But if you think about it, I'm putting this breadcrumb so that when I come back to the top of the loop and I read but val, I'm going to know what it was last time through. Does that make sense? Okay, let's see if we can run this thing and see how many mistakes we've made. Okay, what was that? What was that? Exit status 1 compilation error. I forgot. Yeah. I've been working on MicroPython too long, and I do indeed forget those semicolons sometimes. Now notice on an if statement, you just go from like the open clause, the open curly to the closed curly, but then the commands inside, you need to have that. So let's try that again. Looking good. Look at that, okay? Look at that, download it. All right, let's go to the full screen view. All eyes on the LED. We're going to come in. Nothing's happening. I'm going to press. Nothing happens. And I'm going to release. Boom! Press and release. Look at that. Now, should I celebrate completely yet? No, I got to make sure it works the other way. So I come in, press, nothing happens, and release. Denied. denied. Press and release. What happened there? What happened there? Let's look at our code. Let's look at our code. If the LED state was off, I want to turn what? I want to turn the LED on. But if the LED is on, I want to what? Turn it off. Okay. Did you guys catch that when I did that? Hopefully you did. Okay. Hopefully you did. I like to kind of do that so you guys will be paying attention and not just mindlessly copying what I'm doing. Okay. So now we're going to run it again. I think the LED should go off when this thing runs. Yeah. Okay. So now it is starting completely over. We are going to come in and we are going to go to full view. All eyes on the LED. I press, nothing happens, and I release, and boom! LED on, toggled on. But now, the moment of truth, we come in, we press, and we release. Boom! Off. Okay, look, it's a toggle switch. Oh, it's a little dark in here. I think I would like a little light. Illumination at my command. But now it's a little bright. I think I'm going to turn it off. I come in, press, release. What is that? Press, release. Okay. I didn't get a clean release on that. Okay. So now, and I'll tell you what I didn't do. Why did I get that false, that one switch that didn't work? I'm going too fast, that you have to debounce the switch. Man, I'm glad that happened, because you got to debounce the switch, which gives it a little time to settle. So I need to do a delay between the loops, a delay of, doesn't have to be much, but about 50. No. What do we need? A variable, delay t, like that. Okay. And now we come up here and we're going to do an int delay t. Delay t is equal to 50. Don't forget our semicolon. Let's come down here like that. Let's run it again. Yeah, you see, when it didn't work that one time, it's making the reading so fast it can get a little jitter in the reading. It's called switch bounce. You put a little bit of delay in there to take that switch bounce out. And you didn't see what I just did you? Let me go back over here. Okay, what I did was down at the very bottom here, at the very bottom, right before the end of the void loop, I put in a delay of delay t, and then up here at the top, I set up delay t to be 50. Okay, so that was just a little code. I said it out loud, but now I've showed it to you. So I think you guys should be good to go. So now that we have that, and I think we've run it, let me come over here and let me have a little sip of coffee. And what we're going to do is, it should just absolutely positively work this time. 50 milliseconds is enough to debounce a switch. So I'm going to come in, down, hold it, boom. Now I'm going to come down, hold it, boom. Quick. Okay, look at that, guys. That really works. Now, what if you said, but I want mine to work when I press it down, not that I want it when I press it down to switch, not when I release it. Well, okay, how would we do that? I want kind of like a trailing, right now I have a trailing edge toggle and I want a leading edge toggle. I want to toggle as soon as that button goes down. Well, how would we do that? How would we do that? Very simply. Well, if last time it was undisturbed, in the up position, and this time through it has suddenly gone down 0, then I want to switch on that. So let's come in and let's see that. Okay, so we're going to run it. See, I also kind of have this view. I sort of like that view every once in a while as well. Okay, so let's watch that view. Now I'm going to come in, watch the LED. My finger comes down and I press and it switches and I release. Now I come in and I press and it switches and I release. So on the press. You see right on the downstroke, the thing switches. Okay, guys, man, I hope you are having as much fun taking this class as I am making it. I do need to give you a homework assignment. And so what the homework assignment is going to be to come in, and instead of using this red LED, what I want you to use is to use the RGB LED, and I want you to have 3 switches, and I want one switch to be the little red button, the second switch to be the green button, and the third switch to be the blue button. And if I come in and press red button, the LED turns red. If I come in and press the green button, the LED turns green. If I come in and press the blue button, the LED turns blue. And you know, it stays that you're going to do the toggle, so I can toggle it red or I can toggle red off. I can toggle green on or I can toggle green off. I can toggle blue on or I can toggle blue off. Okay, now this is just really, you guys should be able to do this homework, because this is just really applying the things that we've learned in the last few lessons. So what is it doing? It's reinforcing your learning. It's forcing you to write some code and make some mistakes and find your mistakes, but there's not any great conceptual stretch. Now, I will admit that this lesson I showed you today could be a challenge for you, but now the next homework assignment, it's just applying what you've learned, thinking through it, and being careful. Okay, guys, I hope you're enjoying these lessons as much as I am making them. I am having a lot of fun with this. I really, as always, want to give a big thank you to you guys who are standing with me on Patreon. It's your encouragement and your support that keeps this great class going. Also, you can help me by giving me a thumbs up and leaving a comment down below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. When you do, ring that bell to make sure you get notifications when future lessons drop. And as always, share this video with other people, because the world needs more people thinking like an engineer and fewer people sitting around watching silly cat videos. Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.